good evening, and happy Sunday. I'm Scott Schertzen alongside Mr. Pat Bernard, and welcome to MLS Sports Raiders React as we are breaking down week one of the 2025 season. We're going to be talking a little bit Philadelphia Union, the new era for Bradley Cornell has started. We'll talk a little NYCFC, the new era for Pascal Janssen is underway. Also talk a little San Jose Earthquakes. They have made some really impressive strides in their first game. Yes, it's only one, but I can't help but be excited, so I'll talk about that. Also, I'm going to be debuting something called my weekly Stud and Dud. You know, the best of the week and the worst of the week. My opinion only. Feel free to disagree. You know, drop it in the comments if you agree, and if you disagree, absolutely drop it down in the comments. But anyway, Pat Bernard, sir, how you doing, man?
What's up, Scotty? What's going on, brother?
Doing all right. So, yeah, figure we'll start off right out of the bat on this one. The new era, like I said, for Bradley Cornell has begun. And all things considered, not a bad start for you guys.
No, not at all. You know what? It's funny you spring it up because this morning I was doing the attack and third here on the Stream Punk Entertainment. And it's funny because I know there has been a lot of people waiting for this guy to fail, waiting for the other shoe to drop. When is he going to screw up? All that stuff because it's not Jim Curran out there. Because it's not the beloved Jim Curran. However, you can't be mad with the guy. Mm-hmm. You can't be angry from the success that he just now. Listen to his post-game interview, and it's the first one. It's the honeymoon stage. There's no film on him. I get all that, but to come up and get your strikers to respond and that your whole team is bought into your system speaks volumes. It speaks volumes to everyone. I mean, like I said, offense, defense, goaltending, they're bought into his system.
You know, and to pull it off, I mean, Orlando, you pretty much know every single year what you're going to get with Orlando. Usually the team that falls into fourth, fifth place, typically in there. But to do it on the road, like I said, in game number one is a big deal, especially because of the fact that the Union fell behind right off the bat inside the first 10 minutes.
Right, and usually this is a team that can't get themselves off the canvas. But no, they stuck around, and you see right here, Ty Barrio pair goals, Dan Gonzaga goal. The playmaking in the offensive zone was unparalleled. The way they set each other up, the way the timing was there. You know, Dan Gonzaga being in the right place for his goal, from getting a long stretch pass from Quentin Sullivan. Ty Barrio getting some setups from Kai Wagner, or whether it was from Frankie Littlefield. I mean, they were. I mean, like I said, this offense, too much to handle. Miguel Uwa forcing a turnover and gets a goal. There was just too much for this offense to handle. For Orlando to handle. Now, look, Orlando got themselves a brand new toy in Marco, but other than outside of him, they didn't have an answer. And this is one, like you just mentioned, one of the top tier teams in the East.
Now, in this case, Philadelphia did allow 9 shots on goal. You know, right. So credit to Blake and the defense for being able to actually hold that and only contain Orlando to 2. But are you at all concerned about the fact that they did give up 9 in that first game?
No,
very easily.
You know why I'm excited? I really asked myself the question this morning. The big question is, if you take the fanboy outside of yourself, because everyone was a Jim Curran guy, we talked about this last week. If you take the fanboy outside of yourself and look through a hindsight, look through a glass hindsight, you look through it. Was this really a bad all season for the Philadelphia Union? Because look at all the minor tweaks that they made. They got rid of Elliott. Well, Elliott was a huge deficiency.
Did he give up an own? I think he gave up an own goal yesterday, didn't he?
He's a goob. He's a goober.
Chicago.
He's a complete goon out there. I saw that. Everybody saw it last year. He was making mistakes. He didn't respond to anything that Jim Curran designed. The only time he was going to design anything is when Andre Blake got back, because he knew Andre Blake was going to be in his booty. So he had to do something. So they when they moved on from him, and listen, Philadelphia Union didn't bring in the flashy names like everybody wants, like the Messiers of the world. But they brought in the right pieces. They're bringing in minor tweaks that, again, it's not about it's what I need. Or it's not what I want. It's what I need. I need these guys in here to make the right plays. And listen, 4-2 over Orlando. You're one of the few teams this week that got a four goal this week. Incredible.
It was a good week for road teams this week.
Yeah, they definitely were. There were some road warriors for sure. So, listen, I can't knock this team. Go in Orlando and punch that Orlando City team in the mouth. They did a heck of a job doing that.
Now, one of the things I want to look at in this case, obviously one game is not a lot, but one game obviously is very exciting at the same time. But there was some talk amongst some of the higher level union sports writers, some of which that work for some of whom actually work for touted news outlets whose initials also match with a Tom Selleck show from the 80s, if you get my drift.
Yes.
Who believes that this team is not playoff material. Now, I looked it up based on that tweet. And in this case, I'm going to be real. Tannenwald is a very smart guy.
Very.
And I'm hesitant to basically disagree with him. But given the fact that 40 points was all you needed under a 9, team playoff format last year, historically speaking, going back the last 5 years, not counting 2020, that was the COVID year, but 40 points to 47 points was what you needed to get into a playoff spot for 9th place. Even when the format was still 7 teams, it was 40 to 47, which is a pretty doable number at that point. So in this case, getting a road win right out of the gate, I mean, I personally, and I said it even before that game, I think they can at least scratch out a 9th place spot despite the chaos and the rebuild of a year.
Yeah, I love Uncle Johnny. He's a great guy. He knows his stuff. I'm good friends with him. I've had him on the attack and third. But yeah, I got to slightly disagree. We don't know. This is a new coach, and this week will tell me everything because you're facing Cincinnati team coming up. You're facing one of the better head coaches in the league in Patrick Noonan, a Jim Curtin branch, if you will. Mm-hmm. Now that there is a little bit of film work, it's curious to know what Patrick Noonan could dial up to try and slow that down. And you would see how Bradley Cornell's how he's going to make those adjustments. But for him to say that his team and what it looks like in reality compared to on paper, they do look they're bought into his playbook and his game plan. They do look like they're bought into his system. So when your team's all the way bought in and everyone's healthy, why not? Why not? You have an opportunity. I just hope this is not going to be like the Philadelphia Eagles where they go with a hot start, then one up, hitting the canvas and not getting off not getting up. I do believe this team has made the right moves. Just like I said, I get what John's saying, but again, it's not the pieces you want; it's the pieces that you need, and they got the minor tweaks. The guys with speed, stretching the field. Yes, is it the same team from last year? Absolutely. Is it the same team that fell apart at the tail end when they had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to get into the playoffs and they blow it? Yes. But this is a whole new regime because and I know if we get a brand new coach in here, if you can't respond to the head coach, then we move on from you. Mm-hmm. So this was the wake-up call that they needed. Plus, they look like they like what this guy has to offer. So I'm happy. I'm happy.
I mean, right now, I think you have the home opener next week. So that's going to be a decent ground.
and look, they could have started this game any kind of way, right? They could have had a 0-2 loss. They could have had a tie. They could have had a 1-0 win that would have pretty much told you nothing. But for them to put up 4 goals, knowing how intangible these strikers can be and the full potential they have, come on, it's a no-brainer. And plus, you got young puppies who are trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to earn a check. You have very young puppies who are trying to get the big payday. So. Of course, they're going to want to ball out.
Nothing makes you feel old like watching like a 15, 16, or 17-year-old play.
Yeah, it's really breaking my kneecaps over here.
Yeah. NYCFC debuted 2 guys yesterday for the first time, 123 and 117. And knowing that I am 9 years older than both of them combined, it's just like, oh my God. It's like I was into my 30s by the time like Jonathan Shore was born. I'm like, oh dear God in heaven, I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the ongoing joke when I pull one of those guys aside. I'm like, you guys did hear about a blockbuster, right? Because if you didn't, my knees are going to pop. So
Well, a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, my parents used to go to that. I'm like,
yeah. But no, listen. Despite everything, great start for the Philadelphia Union. Like the direction. Like I said, next week is a major test right off the bat at home, because if Bradley Carnell doesn't have a great game plan, and if they are losing, if they're down, 2-0, the Boo Birds of Philadelphia will come out. So he's trying to prevent that. There's a lot of pressure now. I mean, this is, you're going to find yourself in a unique circumstance, because if you don't perform well like you did this past, like you did last night, you're going to be cold to the carpet. So, but anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of bought into the guy myself. So, I can't knock him. I can't hate on him because he replaced Jim Curtin. I mean, I get it. That's what a lot of fan bases. Like I said, I'm curious to know. There probably is a percentage out there who wants this guy to fall because they miss Jim Curtin that much. So, but no, listen, you can't knock the team. 4-2, great start. Bring in Cincinnati now. Let's see what they can do. You're going to see. I want to see all the kind of adversity that this guy's got. What's he going to do in a 0-2 situation? How's he going to bounce back? What's he going to dial up? Who's he bringing in from the bench? All those sort of things.
And that's, like I said, it's a long season, marathon, not a sprint, yada, yada. We've been through all that already. But for you guys right now, with all the question marks that had happened and the disabling and the dismantling of the team, and again, Jim Curtin being an example of that, there was a lot of questions, and in this case, the tests are not over even next week. But to get 3 in this case here and be one of only 2 teams actually let's take a look at the standings for a second. Where did I put them? So right now, here are the MLS standings at the moment. If I can figure out how to do it. There we go. Right, we'll do it that way. So right now, I mean, you've got it. You got 2 teams there that basically scored 4 yesterday. Columbia. So right off the bat, like I said, you're the only home team. Only road team that scored 4 yesterday.
Wow,
not a bad.
Yeah.
Stuff. And also, it's ironic because Columbus, who obviously had their massive problems going on right now, obviously, Cujo went east. Atlanta under Ronnie Dylo, which, boy, that's going to be weird for me when I see Ronnie. Ronnie was NYCFC's head coach when they won the Cup in 2021. So having him come back June 12th, by the way, to Yankee Stadium, his old stomping ground is going to be funny. But Ronnie's always been a good guy. So Atlanta, kudos to them. But like I said, it's a long season, but it's a good start for you guys just the same. So,
yeah, absolutely. Listen, it was a great start. I love the energy from this team. Again, responded well after going down 0-1 after Orlando setting a tone, and they just handled business. Again, what I liked is the offense and the way that they connected with one another. Quentin Sullivan finding Daniel Goslock and Daniel Goslock, where he was preventing a ball from going out of bounds and turned garbage into gold, as Mark Zumoff likes to say here. There was plenty of opportunity. Kai Wagner being a facilitator, getting the ball to Ty Barriba in a goaling situation, so forth. So again, a lot of positivities you could take away, and I was asking myself whether Ty Barriba was going to be a one-hit wonder, or is this thing with him going to be for real? Great start. And as my man would say, Terry Silver, if Bradley Carnell is going to be the guy who just winds up these toys and let them run wild, so be it. But you got to enjoy the run. You got to enjoy the run right now.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like I said, do what you can with what you got, be excited for what the future may hold. And truth is, like I said, you've got the opportunity to just see what this team can do. You got a full year, with Kevin Sullivan, alongside his brother. They worked obviously heavily on the offseason now that they knew exactly where things were going with that. So there's I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think they already did surprise a lot of people yesterday, especially when, like I said, when you fell down early on, 1-0 like that.
Yeah, and again, I think it surprised the 4 goals alone. I think caught a lot of people off guard, and it raised a lot of eyebrows for them to handle business like that. Okay, who didn't sign off on that one, but to go down Orlando, a place where this team normally struggles, and handled Orlando with a beat down.
Yeah,
I'm happy. I'm happy for that.
You should be, man.
Now it's again. All right, well, there's another tall order that's coming your way at home, at your home opener. If they could climb over this hill, not just one eye raises, 2 eyes. It's going to be remarkable to see that happen, to see how that plays out.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, you got something there. So we'll reconvene on this in a week. Next week, basically, they end up losing 5-0 or 7-1. Be like, the sky is falling. We're done. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No. Listen, like you said, it's a long season. Ewing fans, this is a new regime. Breathe. The skull. Look, we're off to a right track. We kick things off on the right foot. Breathe. Look, Philadelphia's been begging. This is the dark days because there's no Eagles Super Bowl. We're stuck with a sloppy Sixers team. We're stuck with a mediocre hockey team. Breathe. You got a win. Breathe.
Philly, the Phillies don't really matter until in July anyway. So
no. And listen, with Juan Soto standing right, in the same division,
homering in his first at bat yesterday to left center.
Yeah. I'm gonna start
first at bat, man.
I have nightmares of that, man. Well, listen, he's going to give Philly fans a lot of souvenirs. That's all I gotta say. But
but he's also going to be a massive problem for that contract later, because eventually he's going to get old, and that is too much. Same problem is going to happen with Aaron Judge or Mookie Betts,
Bryce,
or Ohtani.
Yeah. So
and eventually 10 years down the line, you're going to have to pay for the next one, Soto, whoever that might be, while you're paying for this one.
Yeah, that's gonna be 2 major league problems. But listen, Scott, it's been real, my friend.
Yeah, I know you got to go. You got to get up early and put the kids to bed and everything.
Yeah,
Pat,
brother, I'll catch you.
Grateful, man.
And I'll be back next week.
Sounds good, bud. Be good.
See you, buddy.
Yeah. So, all right. So now you're just stuck with little old me. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about what's happening right now. I do want to I'm going to touch on this a little bit later, but it is official. San Diego played its first ever MLS game, and they won their first MLS game. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later in this case right here, but I want to mention this since it just ended up happening. But the San Diego team, and by the way, their home stadium is the Snapdragon Stadium, which I think is fantastic. But they had an impressive 2-0 win over the LA Galaxy, the reigning champion LA Galaxy. And I can't help but be excited for the team in San Diego. San Diego is a good sports town. They got the Padres, granted, but they still are frustrated about the loss of the Chargers a few years ago. And that's something where I think the fan base is really going to be able to embrace a team like San Diego FC, because it's a town that's overshadowed by LA. It's about 3 hours, roughly, give or take 2-3 hours from LA, but LA gets all the attention and all the glory. So it's nice that San Diego's got something they can root for outside of just the Pods. So in this case here, like I said, I'm going to come back to this. And his Dyer, and both goals in this case, he will be my player of the week. So I made the decision actually when I saw that he scored both goals a few minutes ago. There's a lot of players yesterday that scored a pair of goals. So my uncertainty about who was going to be for my MLS player of the week for my write-in. In this case, it's going to be him, because that's a big deal to do it against the Galaxy, do it on the road, do it in the team's first game. So I'm going to come back to that in a little bit, but you know what? Give the San Diego FC team credit. They dethroned the champions on their home turf on the first game after their MLS Cup final. So respect to that, proud for that, excited for that. Speaking of, and I mentioned this in this case with Bradley Cornell, it is also the new era in this case for the New York City Football Club, because the NYCFC themselves had their first their first game under new head coach Pascal Janssen. Now, for me personally, as somebody who was admittedly close to Nick Cushing, I worked with him on a few things. It was depressing a little bit for me to watch the press conference last night. I've been on press conferences with Pascal Janssen previously, and I've seen head coaches change, Ronnie Deila and Nick Cushing, things like this. But it felt weird for me last night to see a new head coach when Nick Cushing was there. I've told you the story about how Nick Cushing spent time with, my wife, coaching her on handling performance jitters and anxiety jitters in sports, and I was always grateful for that. So it was a little weird seeing Janssen, but I think with what happened yesterday, it was a good moment for them. I think they got really lucky, and I want to talk about this in a second, but NYCFC ends up going down to Inter Miami and pulling out a draw. Weirdly enough, this is the third straight draw between NYCFC and Inter Miami in their last three. They both had 1-1 draws last year. The first one down in Florida, second one the day before my birthday in September, back up here. And last night, a 2-2 final that was a little bit back and forth, and frankly, I think was a game that NYCFC got very lucky on. So I'm going to show this real quick. I'm going to see how this works here, if I can do this right. I'm not going to do video or audio on this, but this call right here, that basically the pull down right there, ends up being called for a red card on Aviles, who had just scored the first goal for Inter Miami earlier. That play right there, and actually we're going to go a little bit closer on Alonso Martinez. That tackle right there, the pull down, Alonso Martinez very clearly showing his clear unbridled pain in that moment, by the way. You can tell how badly he's hurting right there. But this ended up being something that gave NYCFC new life. I think in this situation, if this was something that didn't happen, if Aviles did not actually end up getting that red card, I think Inter Miami would have absolutely decimated NYCFC. They were already up 1-0. They were already putting the foot on the throat of NYCFC in this case here. An NYCFC squadron, by the way, that was missing a ton of players because Thiago Martins, defender, was out with injury. Tavon Gray was out with injury. James Sands, who was on loan, one of their key defenders, was out obviously overseas, and himself, ironically, with injury. They made the announcement. This is what I don't get. This I found really odd. They got paid a ton of money for Santi Rodriguez to get transferred. Okay, fine. But they made the announcement that their star winger was being transferred out, but they made the announcement about 90 minutes before this game. And as a result, it kind of threw all of us in a tizzy that they decided to make that announcement. Apparently, it didn't make much of a difference in this case here. I was a little concerned if Santi Rodriguez was going to get transferred out, what that was going to do for Alonso Martinez. Martinez still scored his first goal of the season, take the 2-1 lead. But this was a game also that, and some people are claiming, and I am not going down that road, some people are claiming a little bit of, shall we say, Kansas City Chiefs and Inter Miami have something in common, if you get my drift. Because last night had 11 minutes of stoppage time. And I've seen the comments in the press conference. 11 minutes is unheard of pretty much in any situation. So lo and behold, 10 minutes in, NYCFC ends up giving up the game-tying goal and getting a draw. It felt to me a little bit like they lost the 2 points. I think Inter Miami was able to scratch out the 1 goal or the 1 point on that. I think they got a little bit lucky with that, but I'm going to come back to it a little bit later. But for Inter Miami, and this is where I'm curious about this, and I want to put this, hang on a second, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that to this just because I feel like it. Add banner. Inter Miami, what can we expect? Because right now, I'll be honest, I am not sure. I don't know how good this team is going to be. I'm a little uncertain about this team right now. I'm a little uncertain about how Lionel Messi is, and I'm a little uncertain about whether or not this team can really compete in the East this year. The 2-2 draw that happened last night, okay, fine. But Lionel Messi ends up getting a yellow card for arguing at the end of the match, which, by the way, interestingly enough, is only his third yellow card since he came to Inter Miami 2 years ago. But is this a team that is going to be okay? Is this a team that is going to raise the MLS Cup? Right now, if I had to say, I'm going to say no. I don't think they have it in them right now. I don't think Lionel Messi is capable of carrying across 9 months anymore. and obviously they've got a good squad despite all that. But I think right now with the rest of the league, I think FC Cincinnati's going to be strong with Evander. Philadelphia's got a shot at things. Columbus, granted they lost Cucho, but you know what? They still scored 4 yesterday. They still, despite not having Christian Ramirez, if any coach in the league knows how to deal with a loss like that, it would end up being somebody I would say like Wilfred Nancy. But Inter Miami, I don't really know if they're going to be a team that's going to really be able to crush this. And if they don't, what does that look like for Major League Soccer? What does that look like for Don Garber? Obviously, it's well stated, it's well known that the money was backed up for Messi to come here, and there was a lot of push for it and a lot of, effort to make it happen. But they were embarrassed last year. They lost to a 9th place team. They had the supporter shield, but they got ousted and they got embarrassed. And that was not part of, I think, the deal when Lionel Messi was convinced to come over here. At Leagues Cup, okay, fine. But if they don't win the MLS Cup, then is the Lionel Messi era a fraud? Or maybe not a fraud. The fraud's a word wrong. But is it end up being something where at the end of the day, it was not worth it for the league? I've talked to a lot of sports writers. I've talked to a lot of people inside the league, play-by-play guys, that feel that Lionel Messi has brought his fans to Lionel Messi, not to Inter Miami. So if Lionel Messi ends up leaving, a lot of the fans will follow him wherever he may go. And Inter Miami may lose a really heavy part of the fan base there. And if they cannot figure out a way to learn from last season, I think this is going to be a team that is going to be in a lot of trouble. And I think in some ways it's going to be an embarrassment to the league. Last week, if you guys remember, Pat and I had talked about the ratings on the MLS Cup final versus the NWSL, National Women's Soccer League. MLS final between LA Galaxy and New York Red Bulls was on Fox, and it drew 487,000 viewers. NWSL on CBS drew more than double that. It was just shy of 1 million. And that is a glaring look at the league and a glaring look at what concerns I think Major League Soccer has. And I think a lot of it does end up coming down to the fact that it's on Apple TV. If the Lionel Messi deal happened and this was still on regular broadcast, on Fox, on CBS, NBC, whatever, hell, sorry about that, ESPN. If it was on ESPN, which, by the way, could be a possibility now that ESPN next season will no longer be covering Sunday Night Baseball, so that could be something there. But another thing for another time if I ever get around to it. But I think right now Lionel Messi is being squashed because he's on Apple TV. He's behind a paywall for a streaming platform that most people are not familiar with. Okay, Ted Lasso, people know it. Severance, okay, fine. People know these shows. Some of them have seen some of these shows. But Apple TV is not Netflix. It is not Hulu. Hell, it's not even Peacock from a sports a sports streaming platform. So I almost feel like in some ways, if they want to capitalize on the Lionel Messi part of it, they're going to have to figure out a way to to get him on national exposure, international exposure. Netflix, I think, would have been a much better option for them. Apple TV was a good idea in a lot of ways at the time, but I'm starting to feel like this deal is not panning out. And I'm pretty sure at some point Don Garber and the rest of the league might look for a way to maybe opt out, pay a bucket load of money to Apple TV and be like, okay, we're out. Let's find another platform. I would say let's see what ESPN can do. If ESPN is dropping, and they've already made the announcement, if they're dropping Major League Baseball, especially Sunday Night Baseball, maybe Sunday Night MLS, maybe you can get Lionel Messi on ESPN, which I think the league would love to be able to do at this point. I'd be very curious to see in this case. So let me know what you think in that case. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you feel basically could happen there. But I'm curious. But anyway, back to basically what I was going to say in this case. NYCFC at the end of the day did get lucky. I think if Aviles does not end up getting that red card, I think this game ends up being a lot different than it was. Tomas Avila's red card at 23 minutes in gave NYCFC a chance to get back in, score 2, and then give up the 1. But I think if Aviles does not actually have that red card, I could see NYCFC losing that game by 5. I really do. And that would have been an embarrassing, exhausting start for Pascal Janssen, who, by the way, I'm noticing right now in press conferences, Pascal Janssen for NYCFC, the new head coach, he has this weird situation where he grades your question. And by that I mean, he'll state if a question is an easy question. He'll state if a question is a good question. He's given me both. I mean, one hand it's like, oh, that's an easy question. Now I feel like an idiot. But yesterday it was funny because he's like, that's a good question. I'm like, cool, I feel validated. That's kind of his approach now, which is a little different from Nick Cushing, but I find it interesting just the same. So let me know what your thoughts on that. Let me know your feeling on that. I'm going to basically pop out for a quick second, throw a little commercial break in here because of a pizza place that I'm a big fan of. But let me know your thoughts. I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk a little bit of the San Jose Earthquakes, why I'm excited about them, what I'm currently working on, trying to make some things happen with them. And also, I'm going to give you guys what I'm going to call my studs and duds of the week. Give a little bit of a hint on it, but I'll go back to that in a sec. So anyway, stay tuned. Be right back. All right. By the way, this is the pizza place that I'm loyal to because they give away a lot of free stuff on a regular basis. So respect to them. Give them a shout out if you're ever in the New Jersey area. Pizza Zone is right on Lodi, right on Main Street, right across the street from Nutchies, by the way, which is the company that uses all the vintage cars for the movies, the TV shows. So anytime there's something from the 1990s all the way back to the 1920s, so Boardwalk Empire, the Nick, the Irishman, all those cars basically come from Nutchies right across the street from Pizza Zone. So my personal choice, and you know what? Pop on by. Martin and Zach are good guys. So anywho's, I want to take a minute or 3 to talk the San Jose Earthquakes. This is something I'm kind of working on right now in a couple of arenas, but they had a very, very impressive 4-0 win yesterday, and they showed a lot of what could be done, and frankly, after the last couple of seasons that team has had, the embarrassment of last year, dead last, goals that, out the wazoo, to see that team come back and score 4 last night, I think was a big deal. And doing it against a team like Real Salt Lake was huge for a squad that also had, Chicho Arango from Real Salt Lake. So we understood the squad of it. But San Jose is an underappreciated sports town. The Earthquakes have struggled the last couple of years. The San Jose Sharks have been abysmal the last 5 or 6 years. I can't remember the last time they were in the playoffs. I think definitely 2019 might have been the last year that they were in the playoffs. So San Jose is a team or city right now that I think deserves a little bit of excitement in sports base. This again is only one game, just like we were talking about when it came to the Philadelphia Union. But a convincing 4-0 win against Real Salt Lake, a team that went to the playoffs last year. There's a lot to be excited about here. And there's a lot to be, look forward to with what this team might be capable of doing going forward. So can we be excited for the Earthquakes yet? I will be. You guys don't have to be. But again, I love underdog stories. I love teams that have struggled out of the gate and struggled for a while. And this is a team that I think could at least sniff a playoff spot. If the Philadelphia Union need 45 points roughly to get in, I think the Earthquakes can definitely do that. And I think they're going to be a fun team. Will they win the MLS Cup? No, I don't think they will. But could they make the playoffs and actually win a postseason round? Yes, I think they can. And as a result, you know what? Good for the team. Good for the league. All right. So what I'm also going to do, there we go. There we go. Now at this point, what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something I'm going to call Studs and Duds of the Week. And what this is a new thing that I've got going on where I'm going to basically highlight the player that I think deserves the most love, the most cred, the most respect, and the player who frankly does not. Now I've already given a couple of hints at this point. I'm going to wrap it up probably after that. But what I'm going to call, like I said, my weekly stud and dud, my stud of the week, and I've already kind of stated who it was going to be. This man, Mr. Anders Dreyer. First game with San Diego, first time the team is actually playing an MLS game. And what does he do? He scores both goals on the road against the LA Galaxy. That is something that I think a lot of fans can get excited about in San Diego. It's only one game, but you know what? You made a statement with the league. You're an expansion team. You're not supposed to basically do well typically out of the gate like that. St. Louis did a couple years ago. That surprised a lot of people. I don't know what to expect out of the San Diego team. I don't know where this team is going to go. But you know what? Just for what happened a few minutes ago, this is a Sunday game. They played on the road against LA. They shut out LA. They shut out the LA Galaxy on their home turf, scored a couple of goals, and Anders Dreyer will be actually my personal pick for player of the week because he did that for a new team in a new city in its first ever game. So that right there is my choice for who my personal stud of the week is. Now, my dud of the week. This is the other one I have to go into. I did delve into this at least a little bit at one point. This is Tomas Avilas. It's an unusual situation because usually if somebody scores a goal, I would not call them a dud. But I showed you guys the red card that ended up happening earlier in the match against NYCFC. If that red card doesn't happen, I think Inter Miami rolls. But he took that red card there. It led immediately to a goal from Micha Ilinic just 3 minutes after that red card was issued. But it changed the entire dynamic of this game. And it changed the game to be something where an Inter Miami team was already down a man, and NYCFC was able to score too. Again, the game ended up being a draw, but I think because of what happened there, I think he ended up being the reason why that team lost 2 points last night. So that's my thought, my opinion, my beliefs on that. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your comments. I've got guests on the horizon basically as the show continues to get its feel, get its way going. I've got some stuff in the pipeline that we're working on right now with some of the teams directly. So I will keep you guys posted on that. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your comments. Like, comment, subscribe. You've heard all that crap already. Sorry, I got to say it. We are this close to getting the channel monetized. So I'm like, ugh. So, but anyway, let me know what you guys want. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know what you want to address. And honestly, just for fun, I'm just going to say it out there. Let me know if you want to come on. I don't have a problem with that. Honestly, as long as things are clean-ish for the most part. If you guys actually want to be on and talk whatever team you guys want to talk about, I'm cool with it. Like I said, I think the more the merrier. Have some fun, see what we can do. But anyway, I'm Scott from Streampunk Soccer, Streampunk Entertainment, and all the other Streampunks that we got out there. I'm the NYCFC pool reporter, so you'll see me in a couple weeks if you're an NYCFC fan. By the way, in case you're not sure, I'm also on Reddit as Cauliflower Ninja, so I know some of you guys have seen me on there. I'm the press conference guy also. So drop a comment if you have any thoughts or anything you want to cover, anything you want me to cover going forward. Thanks as always. Take care. Stay awesome.